Comrades, siblings, applause, please, for Roz Foyer, SCC General Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan, and I'm delighted to be joining you all today to celebrate Edinburgh's May Day. I'd like to bring you solidarity greetings from the STUC, but I'd also like to bring you solidarity greetings from the beautiful Isle of Jura that I'm zooming in from. And I'd like to thank my friends Phil and Georgina because they've got a really good internet connection. So I'm using their internet connection to get through to you all today. So your theme today for Edinburgh May Day, I was very pleased to see, is the people's recovery. And that's a theme that's been shared by the STUC. It's actually been our key focus for campaigning and organising in the run-up to these Scottish Parliament elections. And given the grave challenges that we've all faced over the past year, there's never been a more crucial time for people to belong to a union and for the labour and trade union movement to be front and centre in defending people's jobs and safety, but also for us to lead the conversation about how we can not only rebuild our economy, but actually fix the inequalities that have been baked into our society for too long. 1 year into this pandemic, and we've seen over 150,000 deaths across the UK, with over 10,000 here in Scotland. Now, the fact that many of these deaths were preventable and the impact of the mistakes that have been made highlights serious failures by our governments, both at UK and Scottish levels, to carry out their foremost duty, and that's the duty to safeguard the lives of their citizens. So now, as we face the biggest economic crisis in living memory, it's becoming increasingly clear too that our current economic systems are failing working people. We've learned that it's not the hedge fund managers or the millionaires that have kept our society going. It's our essential key workers, our cleaners, our carers, our transport workers, our NHS staff, supermarket workers, cleansing workers, delivery and postal workers, and many, many others, putting themselves and their families at real risk to look after the rest of us. Yeah, at the other end of the spectrum, we know that the pandemic has handed huge profits to big business. Amazon's sales in the UK rose by 51% to almost 20 billion. Large online retailers and logistic firms are recruiting fast into low-paid, precarious contracts. Now, this has got to change because we can't build a sustainable economic recovery on the shifting sands of precarious employment and poverty pay offered by corporate tax dodgers. In a country where the bandits' capitalist cynical moves to fire and rehire remain completely unchallenged by our government. So on this International Workers' Day, let's pay tribute to all of the workers that have sacrificed so much to get us through this pandemic. And as we move forward, let's commit ourselves to delivering a real people's recovery. Not a recovery that takes us back to what we had before, because what we had before wasn't working, but instead one that enables working class people to recover the income, wealth, and sense of collective purpose stolen from us by decades of political bias towards the rich and powerful. We've used the elections on May the 6th as an opportunity to raise workers' demands and put workers' voices at the centre of this election. And we've continued to support the right of Scottish people to determine their own constitutional path at a time of their own choosing. But right now, the only supermajority we're interested in building is a supermajority of workers collectively demanding urgent action on pay, action on care, and action for jobs. We're campaigning for increased pay for key workers, support for sectoral bargaining in sectors dominated by women, BME workers, and enforcement of equal pay in the public sector. We've continued to build pressure for a fairer pay settlement for all essential workers because poverty pay isn't good enough and these workers deserve better. We're demanding the creation of a national care service, one that will be valued as much as the NHS, Thousands of people in care homes have died, and nearly 70% of private care homes have had suspected COVID-19 cases, and that's significantly higher than not-for-profit homes. So the profit motive must be removed from the care sector, and workers' terms and conditions should be standardised and raised right across the board in our care sector. And lastly, and most importantly, we want to see the creation of more good jobs, jobs that will tackle the climate crisis and really deliver fair work. As we prepare for the COP to be hosted in Glasgow later this year, we're demanding a just transition, and we've launched a research report to show exactly how we can build 367,000 green, sustainable, high quality unionised jobs right across Scotland. But that just green future can only be built on public investment, democratic ownership, and a strong domestic supply chain. The private sector has shown itself woefully inadequate to meet these challenges, and there is no prospect of a green recovery without massive public sector intervention. So our ambition for a people's recovery is one that recognises that new economic models are needed, and we see community wealth building as playing a very important role. We don't apologise for asking for these things for working people. Workers have sacrificed so much to take care of all of us through this pandemic, with far too many on poverty pay. This is about demanding that as we go forward, we'll have an economy that works for everyone, and this is nothing less than our people deserve. But we know that we can't rely on politicians, policymakers, or legislation alone to deliver for working class people. History shows us that only strong, organised movements deliver real change. So I'd like to pay tribute today to all of the trade union reps and activists across Scotland who've worked so hard this past year, building our movement and defending workers. You've shown trade unions at their best when they are relevant, effective, and making a real difference for thousands of working people. And I'd like to congratulate our EIS FILA members for their successful national dispute to defend lecturer standards and paying conditions. And while the fight at Forth Valley College continues, you have our ongoing solidarity and support. I believe that our movement should have one purpose, and that purpose is to build workers' power. And I've committed to refreshing the STUC to be fit for supporting that purpose. Trade union membership in Scotland is growing, and more people are realising that joining a union and working in a collective is the most effective way to secure fairer work. So as we move beyond the pandemic, let's get ready to organise all those who will look to us for help, those facing unemployment and attacks in their pay, those in new industries, the gig economy workers, and those working from home who don't fit with traditional methods. And let's continue to build, strengthen and bring our movement together under the banner of a people's recovery. And in the period ahead, let's get ready to fight like hell for the recovery that working class people deserve. Thank you.